And this is the Mercedes-Benz Rangers postgame show after a walk-off by Panarin and Miller in the bottom of the ninth. And that was after Igor Shesterkin walked off late in overtime. Welcome into our Delta MSG studios. 2-1 Rangers in the shootout. John Giannone alongside Steve Valiquette. My goodness, is there a lot to digest in this game, and that's really only from the last 50 seconds of overtime until the end of the shootout.
You know, you go through a layoff, and the first two periods were really slow, and you're wondering if the Rangers are skating out there just trying to get something out of their system as they're trying to get physically involved in this hockey game. But the maturity level of this team, this is why I love this group, is they always find a way. One-goal games, the play from Shesterkin in the third period in overtime to be able to keep this game within reach. It didn't fall out of reach at any point. And the more I watch this team, the more I love them because they rally for one another. This group, when I watch them play, I think there's a deep level of care, and they care because they know they have something special right now, John. And as they keep going here through this season, every time where I felt like the season's about to go sideways, they correct. And that says a lot about how much they care for one another.
You talk about care, you talk about concern. Those are two words that the NHL will use when describing head injuries and wanting to be proactive in ensuring that head injuries don't become even more of an epidemic problem than they could be in this game. That became a front burner storyline with 2:12 remaining in overtime, Steve, when Igor Shesterkin took a bump to the head from Craig Smith on a play in front of the net. 4 minutes and 50 seconds of actual time in real life passed between that collision and when Igor Shesterkin was taken out of the game because the NHL spotters wanted him to be examined in the dressing room. He came out of the game with less than a minute left in overtime, yet came back for the shootout and ended up getting the win. He has won 23 out of 30 decisions so far this season, Steve. This is going to be his most memorable for any number of reasons.
Well, look, I think that Igor Shesterkin, he gives the team a chance to win every single night. When you look at his record recently with 2 goals against or less, that's exactly what he's done in 13 games of his last 18. His third period and his overtime were spectacular. This is what he's all about. When the moments get big, he finds ways to make saves. He finds the puck. He does it mechanically, he does it technically, but he does it with grit and battle. And when you have that recipe, John, and you're that competitive as a person, and you still find a way to be able to find lanes and make saves. This is the last shot of regulation, and then you're into overtime, and he's seeing opportunity after opportunity. That save right there, it's one of the hardest to make. You've got to go full 180 from post to post. He takes his contact right here, and this is where, you know, you've got to really look a little bit further because he makes a save after having contact. He's upset about leaving, and I understand the frustration. Jim Ramsey has to explain to him that this is just league protocol. He's not happy about it. He slams his stick. And look, this is a part of the game right now where he gets back into the game. He's able to obviously get through the shootout. Here's the thing, and you learn this as you go through a season, John, especially with rules changing from one season to the next. When I went to Europe, it was as soon as the goaltender got hit in the helmet and they could see the clasp open, the referee would blow his whistle. I'd say, can we just keep playing because we have a rush going the other way? They'd blow the whistle automatically. I would adjust. Okay, I changed the strapping on my helmet. The way that these athletes work, and I understand the concussion protocol fully, but what Shesterkin's going to do is the next time he gets contact, he's not going to try and make it look bad. And that's one way that you can adjust. But I bet you he would do that, especially knowing how tight a game is. Imagine that's a playoff game. Now, his arms came back. I'd imagine, because I was a goalie and I tried to get calls too. We try to get calls. That's what we're trying to do when we have contact at the crease. I've embellished and cheated in every way you can imagine. I've always done it. We have to. We have to so that we get space and we're also protected. I would imagine that Shesterkin in the future is going to adjust how he falls. And you think it's not that hard to do because we do it the other way too.
Right.
But there was contact, and I think there was enough contact that, yes, somebody could see it, but maybe don't draw as much attention to yourself.
And that is a thing, but let's remember there was a penalty called for goaltender interference on that play. It was evened up when Lafreniere got a roughing penalty on the scrum afterward. But there is a spotter watching every game, and whenever there is head contact, particularly to a defenseless player like a goalie in Shesterkin's case, they will call down and ask for that player to be examined. So Shesterkin went into the dressing room, and maybe the most strategic timeout the Rangers have taken all year came with 6.7 seconds left in overtime. Yes, they called a timeout to set up a play with a faceoff in the offensive zone, but yes, it gave enough time for Igor Shesterkin to not only clear protocol, to pass the baseline test that you have to take when you suffer a blow to the head, and then for him to be able to come out as the prodigal goalie and face the shootout.
Yeah, exactly. And look, one question I do have that I really hope somebody asks is the test in Russian, or do you have to wait for an interpreter to come down? Because we're talking about a time frame that's pretty limited before he gets the opportunity to get back on the ice. And nonetheless, he gets out for the shootout, okay? Now, what was it, 2 of the first 3 for Boston end up in the back of the net? And then he runs the table from that point forward.
6 after that, and here's the brusque right off the bat.
Yeah, and there was a couple glove, too, where you're saying, okay, maybe he's not quite seeing it. And of course, you wonder if contact was an issue there. But Bread's move here was just ridiculous, and he just continues to surprise us in different ways. Coyle comes down on Shesterkin here, and, you know, that's the second one that's glove side, and you're just, look, we're sitting here wondering, is that maybe a factor? But he runs the table, makes 6 saves after that, and Miller time. I think that's one of the harder moves to stop for a lefty, to go forehand on a deke, because you're pretty committed to the shot there, and the forehand deke, one I always had difficulty with. So no harm, no foul for Swayman there. That's a tough one. Miller was awesome on that move.
Yeah, so it was Eric Halla, it was Hall, it was McAvoy, Frederick, Foligno, and Smith, all stopped by Shesterkin in a row after he allowed 2 of the first 3 in the shootout. Rangers win it 2-1.